Hi, my name is Gerald Chambers. I'm a marriage and family therapist. Myth number 6, psychotherapy is a more effective treatment than prison. Prisons are overcrowded and judges are constantly looking for alternatives when they have discretion in sentencing. Because psychotherapy is available for batterers a lot of times, judges will mandate treatment or therapy as opposed to incarceration, thinking that that's a better alternative, especially since many domestic violence charges are filed as misdemeanors rather than felonies. And it seems on first glance that that'd be a good idea, but sometimes it's not. You know, one of the problems is there's very little evidence that batterers programs, treatment programs actually work. We don't do, like I work for an agency. I contract with an agency to provide the service. And they don't have the money to do any longitudinal studies or to follow up with guys after they leave. So we don't really know how effective the program is. We think it's pretty effective, but we don't really know. Everybody's doing their best. The legal system, judges are doing their best, and then their treatment providers are doing their best. But there is we do have a quality control problem among the treatment agencies. Not all of them do the same things. Some of them don't have trained staff. There's a lot of disparity in how treatment is provided, who does it, how trained the individuals are that run the programs. Some of them are religious-based programs. And it's just difficult to tell how well it works. Even if we are able to stop physical violence, emotional abuse is something else. That takes a little longer to work on. I don't know how effective we are at stopping that. And that's not against the law. And like I said, we don't follow guys into the future. So, I don't know how effective it is. And the other thing is there's no cure for battering. This problem isn't like other problems that we might have. Like if your light bulb goes out, you just climb up there, unscrew the old bulb, and put in a new one. This isn't that kind of problem. This problem has to be managed. Even for guys that go to treatment, they have to do some aftercare. They have to constantly stay on top of what they're thinking and feeling, and really be committed to a nonviolent lifestyle. And this is interesting. When a husband or a man is sentenced to treatment, a group, or psychotherapy, sometimes the victim, the women, can be lulled into a false sense of security, thinking that if they go to treatment, they're going to automatically be better. Sometimes treatment can make the situation worse in some ways, because women can come back and let their guard down, thinking that these guys are going to be treated and it's going to be over with because they went to treatment. But it can also work similarly for the guys that are in the program. They think if they come to treatment that that's it. Almost like taking your car to a repair shop, that once you take it and get a new part put on it, you don't have to worry about it anymore. But there's a lot of maintenance that has to be done around maintaining the changes that you make during the treatment process. And so a lot of times the guys think that just because they sit for a couple of hours with me and a couple of sessions, that they won't have this problem. And they too find out down the road by having another flare-up that, hey, they have to participate on a whole different level. So I would say that the victim and the perpetrator shouldn't let treatment fool them into thinking that they don't have a more longer-term problem that they have to pay attention to. And, this whole thing about violence in our society, violent criminals need to do some jail time. If you beating up your partner, you beating up your wife, beating up your husband, you using violence, that's what jails are for. Now, just because they're overcrowded for whatever reason, that doesn't mean that violent criminals don't need to go to jail first, and then we can talk about treatment and all that. And each case is different, and I think the courts are trying to do the best they can to weed out and make sure that they put the adequate people in batterers programs. We're doing better than we used to do. Batterers programs used to be just a catch-all for anybody that a judge didn't know how to accurately sentence. But we're getting better with that. They're getting better. They're getting more educated. We're reaching them and talking to them and trying to help them understand who to send and who not to send. Violent criminals who assault strangers are treated differently in our society than husbands who beat up their wives or boyfriends who beat up their girlfriends. And we really need to take a look at how we handle people that practice violence in our society. Family violence is still regarded as less serious than other forms of violence, even though women have to worry and are killed by husbands, boyfriends, ex-husbands, and ex-boyfriends more than all other perpetrators combined. Accountability is very important for men who batter their partners. And I don't personally think that a referral to psychotherapy is always the best thing, absent a guy doing some time for whatever it is he did. The legal piece has to be in there. It's a whole joint effort to try to stop this violence. It just can't be all psychotherapy. And I'll be quick to tell guys in my group that sometimes jail works better than treatment, because at least when a person goes to jail, they can't stalk anymore, they can't bully anymore, they can't strike and lash out at their partner anymore, and she gets a chance to make some changes and do some things. And it's tricky because many men are, breadwinners and trying to support families and stuff like that. But, if he kills her, then, the whole game is over. So we want to prevent people from harming each other. We want to prevent death. That's like a priority. One of the reasons why men batter women is because they can get away with it. And so we have to send a strong message to people that use violence in our society that, hey, that will not be tolerated and you will have to pay for that. No, don't be fooled. Our current prison system doesn't really rehabilitate to the degree that it could. It doesn't really do that. But at least prison stops the violence. At least prison stops the stalking. At least prison stops the harassment. And that gives the family a chance to make some changes and have some relief from that. It also sends a powerful message to men in our society that, you can't put your hands on people, especially not your wives and your children. And then remember that battery we talked about, cobras, a lot of times in treatment, they will just con the facilitator or the counselor or the therapist in the group into believing that they've really changed when actually they haven't. And then another problem is sometimes guys are in group learning how to get better at what they're doing. So we have to constantly monitor people to see if they're benefiting from the program or not, or what they're getting from the program. And so if a guy comes in and just skates through the program and doesn't really learn anything, he's conned his partner perhaps, he's conned the system, he's conned the therapist, everything. So we want to try to prevent that. And I think treatment should be offered on a voluntary basis. You can't force people into treatment. If they don't want to stop, they're not going to stop. They can be counseled, reasoned with, prayed over, beaten, locked up. But if they're not ready to stop, they're not going to stop. In those cases, I think jail is a better alternative. So I'm not so sure that it should always be mandated before a person has to face some consequence for his actions. And I don't think treatment should be offered before a person goes through the legal system. Violence is too important an issue in our society at this point. And after the first offense, I think the second offense, a person should get a felony. I mean, this isn't the kind of problem you want to have a guy rotating in and out of the system, putting his hands on his partner all the time, and then just going through the system again and again and not having any real consequence. The message must be clear and unambiguous. Violent crime will not be tolerated, whether the victim is a stranger or your wife. I'm a treatment dude, and I'll be the first one to tell you that we got to be careful with treatment. Not all treatment is the same. Everyone doesn't respond to it. And we're not that good at it yet. And guys come in and try to feed me and make me think that I'm really better at this than I am, to try to con me, when really they're conning themselves. And end up in kind of a revolving door of going in and out and in and out and in and out. So I believe in treatment. I think people ought to get treatment. I think most people need some treatment. That people need to talk to a therapist from time to time, need to be in a group to try to learn about themselves. But when there's violence, that's a whole different situation. And I think we got to really do a better job of bringing the weight of the legal system to bear on people who are violent. If you like this video, hit the like button, leave me a comment, subscribe. Thank you for listening.